Something happened weird there, folks. Hey, folks, welcome back to Nako, the Call of Africa. This is Chris live. Oh, there's a chat message. That's the problem. Was okay. They threw me off. Why are the menus up there? Welcome back, folks. As folks in Koketso's neighborhood say, Otsihilijiang. Hey, how you doing there, Koketso? What's going on, man?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Happy New Year to everyone. I don't know when you can stop saying that or when that thing expires, so I'm going to say it anyway. Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back.
I thought you were going to say when I had to stop saying Tswana. What's going on? Am I being discriminated against?
Nah.
Happy New Year. Yeah, you can still say Happy New Year through January. My Christmas tree's still up. True story. It's still up. I like to leave it up through January. Not because I'm lazy, but because I like the lights. Dumo, welcome back to the program. How's it?
I'm great, Chris. Thanks for having me on again. It's really awesome. Started off the year pretty well. And looking forward to having a great discussion today.
Well, first off, let's be clear about this, okay? The way I've styled this program is that you're not a guest on here. You guys are co-host on here, right? Yeah, I'm the master of ceremonies. Don't try to take that wand from me. But we're co-hosting. It's not just interviews. This is our time to talk about events in South Africa. Listen, folks, I was going to save this line for later, but I think it's important to mention it now. Nzuzo is going to come on, but load shedding, so probably at the top of the hour as we get towards the end, he'll join us. And Nolu is also going to join us. So we have a full house. And just so you know, we are very much of the mind that faux diversity is important. And I am the diversity hire on this pigmentationally surplus channel. So just to let you know that, okay? I am the diversity hire, just in case anybody was wondering. Anyway, guys, there's so much to talk about. Dumo and I got together, I think in November was the last time, might have been early December we did this, but everyone else is busy. And I think the problem was the time we were doing it. So we're shifting to 8 p.m. and I think that'll work better in people's work schedule, and maybe we'll get everybody here. But what I want to say is that since we last met, lots has happened. Joe Biden doesn't know it was classified information that he stole and hid for 7 years in a building. The Republicans have taken over the House of Representatives in a 15-round vote, historic for the Speaker of the House. Phala, what's that? Who ever heard of Phala? That's just gone. That's by the wayside. The NEC didn't talk about it. NASREC didn't talk about it. Parliament voted it down to even look into it. So that's in the rearview mirror. Now we look for a cabinet reshuffle of the latest idiots on Ramaphosa's cabinet. That'll be by the end of the month, probably, if anything happens. In the meantime, we've had a swimming pool incident in the Free State. We've got Angie Motsheka coming out today trying to reassure people that the story that Chris Wyatt's been telling everybody for 3 years in broadcast, that in fact, it's a myth. There's no such thing as a 30% pass rate to get through the matrix in South Africa in a single subject. Of course, I never said it was in a single subject. I said it was in 3 subjects, and you had to get 40% in your first language and 30% in the language of instruction. That's what I said. But anyway, and she confirmed that today. So anyway, we got a host of things to talk about here. Koketso, any of those things you want to get your teeth into as we get started in the new year, or something else?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that happens in my country, unfortunately. So it's always difficult trying to pick out where you can actually start from. But yeah, I like to mention how the entire Phala incident has basically, it's been crickets. You know, it's like it never happened. The ANC themselves aren't mentioning anything. In fact, it's actually been reduced to somewhat of a political conspiracy that is somewhat led by Cyril's enemies, political enemies, that is. It's been reduced to that as something that, as the bat that would beat the piñata of those who see Cyril as a piñata that needs to be beaten. But it's a serious thing that actually happened here. So, yeah, I don't know who I was talking with, when they said that, look, at the end of the day, he's going to walk scot-free. We are starting to see the breadcrumbs of that. Looks like it will be yet another forgotten thing. It's gone with the news cycle. And at the end of the day, you are stuck with a sitting president who we know is got nefarious intentions and isn't exactly a clean guy. So, yeah, it's been swept under the rug. And, yeah, years from now, someone's going to write a book about this, of course. And I'll still have to explain to my children how we allowed a man with such allegations to walk scot-free, let alone pursue them in the rightful manner that is.
No, it's an absolutely fair point, and you're right. It's pretty much gone from the public. So I'm not going to let go of it. I'll keep talking about it, but with the shadow banning on my channel, it's not going to be a wide audience. But maybe I'll do it on TikTok. My audience is growing in TikTok, so I'll put it on TikTok. But no, it's really, really sad. But Donald Trump was famously a quote of his talking to Billy Bush, a Hollywood reporter who got fired over this, which was unjust. But Donald Trump famously made a quote talking about Hollywood celebrity women and about how they're so desperate for things he could grab them by their genitals and they'd still come back looking for a job. I also heard someone say that, that a certain politicians who walk in broad daylight and shoot someone and get away with murder. You can do that in South Africa from the ANC. I mean, there's clearly criminal activity here, and this isn't an allegation. The money there's no evidence yet. No documents have been forged to pretend that they've ever declared this stuff. Did we lose the load shedding? Dumo will be back. He's got to switch the generator. We just lost Dumo Denga. He'll be back. But there's no evidence to show receipts for this declaration of foreign currency to the government. That's a crime. There's no information about whether it was reported as income. That's a crime. And then all these allegations about the miscarriage of justice, the frustrating the ends of justice, misuse of police, torture of suspects, and illegal coordination with the Namibian police, who have been pretty open about what's going on. So what the Namibian police alone have said has indicated criminal activity on the part of someone in South Africa, and the fact that this hasn't got people up in arms. It just it's just insane. I mean, what do you have to do to get people's attention in South Africa? Apparently, nothing. Every crime is absolvable in South Africa if you're in the ANC.
Yeah, it's exactly that. I think the reputation that's been solidly built around all of this is that you just have to weather the storm each and every time.
Yeah.
Just weather the storm. Don't stick your head out the hole a bit too much, and eventually everyone will forget that there's a mole in the garden. And that's exactly what's happened here. In an ideal world, we'd have a more responsible media, or a media that takes such things more seriously. But as with all things, all it takes really is yet another racism incident, or an alleged racism incident, whether they're true or not. That's all it takes really. And before you know it, the attentions of the masses, their eyeballs will quickly get off something which really should matter to each and every single citizen, especially those of us who pay tax. But all it takes is an inkling of a racism incident and all attentions go away. It is the most effective smokescreen in this country, and I think the political class have recognized that. And that's why you start thinking that perhaps some of these things really do get intentionally blown out of proportion. And if you really want to be a conspiracy theorist, dare I say, some of them, not the recent ones, but some of them even get manufactured. Who knows? Remember what happens with the Click saga?
Oh, yeah.
All that
totally manufactured.
coverage.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
The event was a black employee working for Clicks, took a European ad, which was, kind of insulting and rude. Let's be honest about it. They took the ad, which was intended for a European audience, simply applied on the website. Someone recognized it within a few hours. Oh crap! They took it down. They apologized, and then they were domestic terrorist attacks by Clicks by EFF followers. One petrol bomb, 44 Clicks locations destroyed. Not a single criminal charge, arose from that, and millions of rands of damage. Not to mention what it did to race relations in South Africa. All a fabricated story. Brockenfell, a town inhabited overwhelmingly by colored and white South Africans, who are the students who are overwhelmingly there. Oh, there are no black students here. Yeah, there are. They've been brought in, given scholarships, and there's a few that live in the neighborhood, and there's no black teachers. And so, they send 3,000 people with pongas, golf clubs, and knob carries in an impy-like formation, toying and marching at the police. And it's just, it's nonsense. Anyway, sorry, go ahead, finish.
And when you tell people the truth, when you tell people the truth of what actually happened after all the facts were laid bare, you should see their face when I actually tell them what really happened, because the over-reporting of the initial incident or the hoax is always exponentially higher than what actually happened.
Yeah.
So with the Click saga, for instance, when you actually tell them what transpired after the fact, I think a year later, once the court trial had gone through and Clicks was basically found innocent of all wrongdoing, of all racism, when I tell people this, you could see the shock and ignorance on their face, almost wanting to call me a liar. You have to whip out a phone, and the Google search result there is going to come up with maybe 10 articles that really tell us that, hey, this was actually, by all accounts, a hoax. Compare that to the tens of thousands of articles and posts online that were painting an alleged victim in a bad manner. So again, the point here is that all it takes to distract people, to successfully smokescreen South Africans from anything, be it presidential wrongdoing, be it state-owned entities being looted, be it opposition parties like the EFF, for example, being caught with their hand in the cookie jar. All it takes to distract South Africans is an alleged or an actual racism incident anywhere in the country, and all eyeballs quickly turn left.
No, absolutely. And, this in no small manner is a direct consequence of the way that the media handles things. I did a video on this, and I'm going to start doing videos about this more often, about international media and South African media in particular, and show the hypocrisy and the outright editorializing in what's supposed to be news content. There were two stories this week on the 7th and 8th, and this is a good transition for Dumo to get in here and answer this. On the 7th, there was a story in News 24 by Solomons about the BMW that ran over 9 people up in Tshwane, Pretoria, I think it was, killing 3 4-year-old children, 2 twins. What a horrific situation. In the article, Solomons accurately reports the story. It's a news story. It's not op-ed. But then she goes on and she says the driver allegedly fled the scene. Okay, they show us photographs of nobody in the vehicle. They mention eyewitnesses that told the police that someone fled the scene that was driving the car. That's not allegedly. That's go interview the eyewitnesses, go interview the people at the scene, or ask the police for the information. It's not allegedly. That's dishonest. Why would you say allegedly? It's not allegedly. You know it's a fact. So report the facts as you know them, or don't report it at all. Then on the next day, in a story in which Ramaphosa talks at Bloemfontein about the 111th anniversary, or 112th, whichever it is, because they got it wrong. Now they got me confused. But the anniversary of the ANC in Bloemfontein, where the party was founded, Ramaphosa says, with the boys, the teenagers, the boys who were assaulted in a racist attack, we stand with you. In the story, now they're quoting Ramaphosa, so that's okay if they put quotes on it, but they didn't put quotes in the subject, which is wrong. But in the story, News 24 calls it a racist incident. What investigation has determined that there was racism involved here? This is an opinion based on a short clip of an incident that occurred when people came back to the pool after the first event happened. Now, we don't know. Maybe it is racist. And if it is, then we will call it out for what it is. What I see in that little clip doesn't lead me to be racism. It leads me to lots of other questions. Why these kids are in the pool, why these men are coming after them, what's going on, lots of questions here. But the bottom line is that that's not news, that's editorializing. When News 24 unequivocally, emphatically states it's a racist incident without any information behind it, we don't know that it's racist. In fact, it could be just the opposite. I'm not saying that's the case, but these black kids could have been angry because only white people were in the pool and they went in there and they started beating up. I'm not saying that's what happened. But we don't know. Let's let an investigation bear out the facts. And this is media malfeasance. That's what this is. And Dumo, what are your thoughts on it? We're in media and one sort of another independent media here. Do you agree with me? Do you think it's media malfeasance and that they're also part of the reason that's driving this nonsense?
Yes, I do agree with that statement. I think there's also an incentive for the media to do this. I think they realized that racism sells.
Oh, it does.
Exactly.
It does. It's sexy.
Exactly. And then what happens after a while is that you'll find that sometimes even racist incidents that don't have really a huge bearing on the country, they will just jump on it because they know it sells. Now, think about it. This is an incident that happened at a pool in the Free State somewhere, right? And, this incident could have happened, and let's assume that it was racist.
Yeah, let's assume that it is. Okay.
Just for the sake of argument, right? Let's say it did happen, but no one reported on it. No one would care. Would just go on and enjoy a holiday, right? And then also at the same time, there were many other pools in the country where there were a lot of people from different races there, and they were having a good time. But we just had to focus on that particular one. So I think the race industry in South Africa is very profitable for the media, and it's quite clear that there is some sort of they want to find racism
everywhere.
They'll look everywhere. Exactly.
Snow is racist because it's white. Someone actually said that. Here in the end, they said that. Climate is racist. It disproportionately affects people of color. Well, maybe because a lot of people of color are poor and live in crappy places like in KZN where they live in floodplains where they shouldn't be living. God bless.
Right. And that's a real problem, I think. And it will lead, and now if you think about this, like what it will lead to in the future is that you're going to see a lot of, let's say, unknown white people who may say racist things like on social media.
Yeah.
Right. And no one's actually going to care, but they're just going to jump on top of that thing. But then when, politicians say things that are racist, they will ignore it. Now, I think the best example was the Julius Malema situation where I think with the AfrForum case, and when he testified, he said he's not going to rule out killing whites.
Which is just a reiteration of his public statements. He said it in an interview. That's where it started.
Yes, exactly.
For now.
The media.
For now.
Yeah. You see,
if that's not a threat of violence and domestic terrorism, I don't know how you define it.
Exactly. So what does he do? He makes that statement. The South African media did not cover that particular piece. They were actually covering the pieces where he said he's going to be president one day and all these other things, and how his mother got hurt by other white people. And again, I sympathize with him about that.
Yeah,
but,
I don't buy it.
You can't say that. You can't say that and then say you're not going to rule out killing white people, which is very concerning. But again, just to finish that story, only one major news outlet actually covered it, and that was the New York Post. The New York Post was the only major news outlet that actually mentioned that in a headline.
The oldest newspaper in the state of New York. And it was censored by Twitter for reporting on Hunter Biden's laptop.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, they stopped that story. By the way, 17% of people registered Democrats, not 17% of voters, but 17%, and there's been 3 polls, I think, out there on this. I've seen one of them, but 2 others report. I haven't checked them out. But about 17% of registered Democrats who voted for Biden in 2020 say if they had known about this story, now they can be saying whatever they want after the fact, they say they would have voted differently. Can you imagine? Just 17%, that's 40% of the electorate that went out and voted. So 17% of that's a 5-6 point swing. It would have been a landslide the other direction if that's a true statement. It just shows you the power of the media, how they distort things and what's going on there. But, it's we got Nolu in here now. Welcome, Nolu. A pleasure to see you. How's it tonight? Oops, your mic's on silent.
Hi, Chris. Hi, everyone. Sorry for being late.
It's okay.
I went for a cycle and then I had to quickly come and prepare. But as you can see, I'm in the dark.
Oh, so
I gained a bit of weight.
It's all about you. You were exercising.
Yeah, actually, I gained a bit of weight because I was home, so I had to.
Gained a bit of weight. What do you weigh? 40 kilos now?
Never.
Maybe when you're 7 or 8, Yikes! No. Well, welcome to the program. Just sorry to cut you off there, but I wanted to welcome you in here. But so you went cycling. I thought it was load shedding. I told everybody it was load shedding. I covered for you. So
it is load shedding. I'm in the dark, Chris. It is just that I'm saying that I went for a cycle, but my electricity went off at 8.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
I'm in the dark right now.
No, but look, we're all in the dark. None of us really know what happened to Phala. We're all in the dark.
Don't start, Chris.
Well, we went from that to talk about race in South Africa. We talked about the pool incident, and I was talking about the dishonesty in the media with Dumo there a moment ago. But now that we've got you in here, by the way, folks, Nolu is a regular panelist or member of this program now. She admonished me for not having an updated banner without her photograph on it. And I said, I never put a lady's photograph on a banner unless she tells me it's okay and it's a current one. Because the moment I do that, now that this is stereotypical, but I'll get lambasted by my guest. No, don't use that picture. So she sent me a photo. We've updated it. We will also have to update the animation because she's not in that. But we Nzuzo, if he doesn't show up after 9 o'clock, he runs a risk of being deleted from the whole thing. He's never been here. So his last chance. This is it. 2023 is a new leaf. We better turn over. Koketso, what do you think about that? Should we drop Nzuzo? He's never here.
If we drop Nzuzo, we're gonna get accused of tribalism, So yeah.
It's funny you should say that. I should mention this. I don't know if anybody else is seeing it, but there's a glitch in the Matrix. whoever's listening to Koketso's broadcast is, he's got the little screen, it's jumping around every now and then. And before Nolu came in, I was going to suggest to Dumo that we start a GoFundMe for Koketso, because Dumo's got an awesome gaming chair and I've got a gaming chair. But poor Koketso's got some, take a lot, reject from China chair, it looks like. And so, but now Nolu came on. She doesn't have a gaming chair, but her chair looks nice. That's quite comfortable there.
I'm not a gamer. I would never. I don't want to have that look. It's good for Dumo.
You don't have to be a gamer to have a gamer chair. Ooh.
No, it's too masculine. No,
all right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Miss Andre section of the program. Here we go, man-hating.
No, Chris, I'm good. I'll pass.
Nolu, I'll be back in the Western Cape early February.
I can't wait to meet you again and give you all chill effect and host you with my cup of tea. Remember the last time?
Yeah, well, let's have more than 3 minutes, right? This time that was what a boom, boom, boom last time. I spent more time with Dumo and Koketso. The reason I hung out with Dumo is because the guy is like a freaking, he's like a hooker or a lock on a rugby team. I walk anywhere with that guy and I feel safe. Nobody's going to mess with Dumo walking down the street. I thought he was this young fellow, just, kind of, man, what a presence. Hey, Koketso, that guy is a mountain of a man, isn't he?
Always
and then you said I'm tiny.
You are tiny. That's a compliment.
Short, I know.
Oh, I didn't mean short. I meant tiny of stature. Go ahead, Koketso. Sorry.
Oh.
It's the Tswana in Nolu. That's what it is.
Oh, that's right. That's right. She's a mixed breed here. She's got Tswana in her. I forgot about that. Yeah, she didn't tell me that.
I'm more Dumo more than Tswana.
Well, but
not according to your height.
All right.
Ooh, yeah. but your Tswana heritage isn't Bangwato, is it? Bangwato? It's not.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, because Bangwato, that's Ian Kama's group. They're a little bit north of Francistown. The thing about that is Koketso disappeared. The thing about that is that, and I want him on the screen for this to get his reaction, but he's off screen now. The Bangwato are known for their shortness and their big bums. That's, so anyway, just thought I'd share that. It is a known trait. It is a known trait.
I need to ask my dad. I could be there.
So Koketso, did you hear what I said?
Yeah, I heard everything. All my devices connected to my computer did one of those hard resets.
I told you it's a matrix. There's a glitch.
Tinfoil hat. Someone is hacking me.
There you go. No, but what I said, there it is. See, it keeps messing. That almost looks like somebody's trying to hack you. But I said, the Bangwato are known for their shortness of stature and for their big bums.
I didn't hear that you said bums, so yeah.
Oh, you didn't hear that? No, big bums, yeah. Dumo heard me. Dumo was laughing. I could see him.
I heard it. I heard everything.
He can verify it. He can verify I said. Anyway, but seriously.
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Ah, look at that. Look at that. He's trying to be very neutral there. You fake news purveyor there, Koketso Horizade. By the way, folks, just so everybody knows, everybody's currently in the conversation with me. I got to meet with when I was in South Africa, and Koketso got to do it twice. He came to the OR Tambo meet and greet, and then he also came. You did come to the OR Tambo, as I recall. Yep, and then you also came to the Pretoria one. Yep. And then Nolu made it to the one I did in Paarl, which was the smallest one we had, but it was still a lot of fun. Had a good time there. And then Dumo came to the one we had in Pretoria, which is pretty cool. By the way, this time around, we're going to do a meet and greet in Pretoria. Giselle is going to do a concert in my honor. And we're looking at doing it at the restaurant that Boer Cola guys own. Maybe another venue, but that's the plan. So we're working on that. She's going to do a performance. I don't know if it'll be free or a cover charge or whatever, but she's doing a concert in my honor, which is pretty cool. So that's something to look forward to, folks. So Nolu, new year, same problems. Load shedding. You weren't here because of load shedding. Doesn't seem to be getting any better in South Africa.
Oh, well, that's the sad part. But we're still here. We're strong because we have to be strong, of course. Nothing has changed. I mean, I remember when I was home, my parents, not parents, actually, it was my mother and my grandmother celebrated when Ramaphosa retained his seat. And then I knew that nothing is going to change. And those two people are the ones that are keeping us in this mess because their loyalty to ANC, it is, something that you can never understand. And unfortunately, that's the sad part about the Eastern Cape. I don't really know about other parts of the country, but those are the strongholds, the people that still believed on Mandela and Nosobukwe, Because remember, the stalwarts, which I'd say the ones who were the forefront, they were mostly Xhosa, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Well, for the
So that's
ANC
why.
leadership for decades was primarily Xhosa. That's correct. Yep. Yep.
Yep. So, and most of them, they were from Eastern Cape, right? So that is why they just feel this attachment to the party. And yeah, it's going to be a long, but I'm actually quite happy about something because my town, which is in the but it's Port Elizabeth, it is actually run by the DA now, and I could see the changes that are going on. It's clean, and I can see the hand of DA there, and I am hoping that it will retain the power there. So ANC lost that region. That's Nelson Mandela Bay. So it was quite really nice, but I just hope it's going to do something about the crime rate there because it's pretty high.
Yeah.
But as for other things, yeah, I'm happy about that.
Well, Nolu, listen, the DA had control previously in the last municipal election. They had a coalition and they had far more councillors. Now they have just 48 councillors. I think that's 9 less than they had, or 8 less than they had last time. So their coalition is even more fragile. You can argue than it was last time. Hopefully they will do well. They did well under Electoral. By the way, a recent guest on my program, he's now with Action SA. Athol came on the program around Christmas time. Fantastic conversation. And I will be getting Herman Mashab on the program, either live in person or here on the program from remote. That's coming up. But the DA had control before and they lost it. And I worry that the coalition will collapse again. I think that's a real concern here. Nolo, do you worry at all about coalition politics? I mean, Cyril Ramaphosa has now warned us because he knows that they'll be the weak partner in a lot of coalitions. Coalitions don't work. It's funny he's saying that at the municipal level.
Well, I do know that they're inevitable. That's how our politics will be like in South Africa, and it's something which I have embraced. It's just that you get to see the reality, or rather, let me say, the true characters of politicians, and that is that they are selfish and they just want the money. You know, the other would say that I'm better than the other, but okay, I do know that there are some who are better in terms of service delivery, right? But I'm not really expecting that much in terms of finding the altruistic politician, because I don't think you'd ever find that. But overall, it's something which I think we all should embrace, of which is something I also think that my family, or rather the older folks at home, don't really understand at this point. But yeah.
Yeah, I said, and we're going to change the direction in a second here, but I said back in 1994 that South Africans need patience. They need patience because you can't change everything overnight. Number one, many of the people in the leadership of the ANC are not functionally literate. In 1994, they're not educated because their response to apartheid was to not go to school, to not participate, to go abroad to join MK, to go abroad. Now, don't get me wrong, there were some very talented people who went to Ivy League schools and got educated abroad or went to the Soviet Union, and they're people with education. But a lot of the leadership was not really there. They didn't have formal education, so you can't expect changes overnight. And I said that it would take 20 to 30 years for South Africa to build next generations of educated, talented young South Africans who learn to think critically. And that's if you got law enforcement and community policing correct, which they didn't. That's if you improve the economy and grew it, which they didn't most of the time. And the list goes on and on, a whole host of things. I've written about this extensively, but none of that happened. It's really sad. Now, I'm going to change the topic here very quickly because I don't want fake news. It looks like Nzuzo Kati is in the program, but we've never seen him on the program, and we don't see him now because the camera's not working. So it could be anybody. I mean, that could be Julius Malema behind that camera. Are you there?
Hi guys, yeah, I'm here. It's definitely Nzuzo.
Where's the camera? I'm not. You guys show me the camera. I don't believe you.
I'm in the dark. That's why it's a load shedding.
Are you up to something nefarious? Okay, look, I'll take this. This is a halfway. It took us a year to get you on the program, despite you got free advertising for a year. I'll take the audio, not the camera. So what we're going to do is we're going to downgrade your photo in the video, remove it, and put Nolo's up until you show up on camera. Fair enough?
Okay, that's fine.
And Nzuzo, welcome. It's finally a pleasure to have you actually on the program. I've seen you online before and on other forums. Thanks for joining us. We've been talking about a whole host of things here between Joe Biden not knowing the documents are classified that he stole, committing the same offense that Donald Trump was accused of, to the Republicans taking over the House of Representatives and taking investigations to American misconduct against citizens. We're talking about load shedding. We're talking about the swimming pool incident in Bloemfontein and the dishonesty of the media, a whole bunch of stuff while you were literally in the dark there. Anything you want to take a stab at as you walk into the program?
No. I think best if I just join on and hop onto the train on whatever you guys were speaking about. Yeah, like I said, I'm sitting in the dark though, so obviously load shedding is on the tip of everyone's tongue right now because yeah, we just went from stage 4 to 6. Well, actually, it was stage 6 yesterday, but now it's stage 6. Until further notice.
Indefinitely. So, yeah. I think the word you're searching for is indefinitely, or if we're more honest, forever.
Yes, I think forever until at least 2028, if I'm not mistaken.
No. I got to correct you on that. No fake news here. The power will come back on 90 days before the 2024 elections when the KFC 3-piece Streetwise and the T-shirts come out. That's when the power will come back on. Then there'll be no load shedding for 90 days.
Actually, funny enough, I think that just on the chicken shortage that I have experienced throughout Pretoria, at least, and I'm pretty sure maybe across the country, there has been a chicken shortage in supermarkets. So I don't think that the ANC is gonna come even close to winning, because by the time that we get to the 2024 elections, KFC won't have enough chicken stock to be able to.
Well, yeah, with a 75% import tariff against chicken imports from America, you won't have any chicken. Lower the tariffs, and you'll get all the chicken you want, better quality and delivered on time. Our producers can now produce South Africans. Hey, okay, let me ask you this question. We know that Nolu is she's got a mixed background here. She's got Xhosa and Tswana heritage in her background. We know that Koketso is a Tswana, and Dumo is a undercover Zambian who slipped into the country illegally. That's his background. What's your background? Your ethnicity? Are you Zulu, or what's your background? Venda?
No, I'm straight. Yeah, Zulu, 100% Zulu.
I knew that. I was trying to pretend like I didn't know. So Zulu, huh? Oh, so it's your fault. You're part of that Zuma crowd, huh?
Yeah.
No one would miss his Zulu
crowd. I feel like I'm feeling microaggressions coming on here.
No, these aren't micro. These are macroaggressions. They're not micro.
Nzuzo, do you have that Zulu vest?
That what?
The Zulu vest. Be honest.
Oh, definitely yes. I have it. I was wearing a drink the festive season actually. We had a couple of ceremonies.
With the sandals.
Okay, not the sandals. I still yet to get the sandals, but I have the taxi uniform where it's the golf shirt, the chino pants, as well as the 1970 music video shoes.
Is it really a thing though?
It is.
Yes.
It is a thing. It's not a stereotype. It's a thing. That's the truth behind it.
Yeah, that's like literally. If you don't find us in the village, and you find us in town, you'll probably be seeing us wearing that stuff. That is, and it must be 3/4. It must be 3/4. It can't be. It can't get.
Well, I can confirm. I can confirm now. There's a Zulu on my stoop. I just thought I should tell you that. You know, it's interesting that you say that, Nzuzo, because I've been gowned in West Africa. You know, I spent a lot of time living in Africa, 8 different countries I've lived in, worked all over the continent, and I was gowned for my efforts in Liberia, and I've been gowned elsewhere. And whenever I wear my African traditional dress, I don't get criticized for wearing it. And if I was in America, it'd be cultural appropriation nonsense. But in Africa, Africans respect that because you're honoring their heritage if you've been gowned. But whenever I wear it, I don't wear sandals. I don't wear sandals. That's not footwear. I'm sorry. I don't wear sandals ever. And so I usually wear dress shoes or something like that. And I get ribbed, especially by Nigerians all the time. What's up, my brother? What's with those shoes? I'm like, hey, I don't wear sandals, man. Sorry, that's out.
Yeah, probably because the feet are crunchy.
No, my feet are quite dead sexy. They're quite attractive. My toes are the proper length, and they're not.
I'm waiting for Nolu to pitch in here about those men who wear the sandals with the nkenke.
Well, this stream has gone sideways. Go ahead, Nola.
I'm just still shocked that this is a thing. I am so shocked. Like, Nzuzo, what's with you guys being backwards, my guy? Like, How's
that backwards? It's the most comfortable uniform, well, except for the shoes. I don't like the kickball.
No. I just meant the whole. Listen. You know, I was actually wondering on the Queen, right? That series, the guy who plays the Zulu guy there, that guy. I forgot his name there. Yeah, I just actually asked my partner, is it really a thing that men, they always wear golf t-shirts there, you know, and those chinos and all that look. And you're like, yeah, that's a thing. So, no, guys, no.
Definitely. It's a thing. It's really comfortable. The golf shirt, like, really, you know, I can fit into probably any event, if it's not smart. If I don't have to wear a suit, I can fit in. Actually, I can even fit in a formal event, because all I need is now a jacket or a bunch, the leather jacket or the actual suit jacket. Then I can definitely fit in. So it works with everything, to be honest.
So I'm guessing you're gonna take how many wives? 2, 3?
I'm still. I don't even know if I'm gonna get married.
That costs a lot of money. Why would you want 3 wives? One's too many.
It's a Zulu thing.
I know it's a Zulu thing.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm even gonna get married, man. This is just, it's a lot of work, man. It's too much money.
It's a lot of money,
and the laws are just not on my side. So.
You got that going for you then, Nzuzo. Well, welcome to the program. We've turned it into the South African Cultural Hour. We'll have to switch over to Venda and then Afrikaans here shortly. But Dumo, I'm going to give you a chance to refute the claim that you're a Zambian illegal. Tell us a little bit about that.
No, I'm not a Zambian illegal.
Nobody's illegal. Human rights!
I was actually in the Eastern Cape in December, and just to confirm what Nolu was saying, Eastern Cape is just ANC everywhere, rural areas, you name it. So for those who don't know, I'm actually closer, by the way, and just going there and just seeing the red, not the red, sorry, the yellow and
black and green,
yellow, black, and green. That's what you see there. And it's almost like a default position there that politics is ANC and so forth. And I mean, if you go to East London, I mean, my word, it is horrible, man. Like, I could not believe just the state of that place. Like, I remember when Sihle Ngobese actually drove through East London when he was doing a tour of South Africa, and he said that the worst places that he'd driven at, it was Mthatha. Yeah, Mthatha is the worst. And number 2 was East London. I mean, the potholes there are incredible. Like, they haven't even fixed some of them. Like, even leaving the airport, when you leave the airport, East London Airport, you're going to see massive potholes there. It's just crazy.
I understand that the SAMDEF doesn't do maneuvers there because those are tank traps.
You know what? They probably are. But one thing I was impressed with was actually the road going to, like, if you go from East London to, let's say, and you're traveling to PE. I won't lie. The road from East London, just before Port Alfred, was very good. I won't lie. Very good quality roads there. Because obviously it's on the Sunshine Coast, and the Sunshine Coast is a tourist attraction. So it's in their best interest to keep that going well. So credit to Sunrail for that. But the main roads out of East London are looking good, but within East London, it's hell.
Well, I'd never been to the Eastern Cape before. It was one of the provinces I hadn't been to South Africa. I'd not been to the Northern Cape, not been to the Eastern Cape, and now I have. I've been to both of those places, so I've hit every province in South Africa at this point over the past 4 decades. But I will say that Rob Hutchison and I drove from, I flew and met him, and we drove from George and Mossel Bay over to Port Elizabeth, and incredible drive. Of course, that's the Garden Route, which is world famous for tourism in South Africa, but it was a really well done road and well taken care of. And by the same token, at least for now, the motorway that goes from Gauteng down to Durban, that is still pretty good, but that's not going to last long with the tens of thousands of trucks on the road that should be on the rails for most of those goods moving up to Gauteng and then being spread around by trucks. They're wearing out the road. They're wearing out the surface much quicker than it should be. Koketso, what are your experiences? You had any bad highways, or you have good experiences? I know in towns you've probably seen some potholes.
Yeah, so I've been to every province. Look, most of the roads are actually acceptable.
Yeah.
I think the one road that does irk me is on one of my more popular routes for me to go and see my parents back at my homeland. There's a town called Koster. There's a river called Koster. There's a town called Koster as well. I don't know if you drove on that road, Chris.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when, with those bad potholes. And they've been there easily 2 decades now. In that time, we've had Premier coming in and out, and pretty much every ANC candidate that is canvassing or campaigning for votes always promises to fix that town, because while Koster is a very small town, a lot of us have to drive through there, especially some of the local people, of course. But the road remains in a terrible condition. But that's not the worst I've experienced. The worst road I've experienced is, I think it's the R36. Somewhere between Leidenburg on your way to Burgersfort, I believe. So yeah, you're in Limpopo. Well, you're basically coming out of Mpumalanga into Limpopo. That is the worst road I've ever experienced in my life. And I went through there during the day when it wasn't raining. I can only imagine what it looks like just after it rains. The road is so bad, it's almost a caricature. And there's a lady on Twitter, quite a popular one, who actually not too far, did a video saying where she basically mocked up one of the roads that she'd been on and was basically recording a video of her selling the road she was on as a tourist attraction, to say that, hey, come here, we've got swimming pools, pointing at all the potholes. Yeah. How that road looked for, again, sorry, I can't remember exactly.
No, it's okay. Name. It's okay. I was just getting images of bungee jumping in South African potholes.
Yeah. But the road I've been on was as bad as that lady's video. Wow. It is that bad. I can only imagine what the things that could happen to you and your vehicle if you had to drive through there at night or during the rain. It's so bad, and the trucks go through there, of course. So, yeah, that's how the road got that bad in the first place, I suppose. But it's so bad that you've got large, long-haul trucks that are basically coming at you in oncoming traffic, ongoing traffic. Yeah, it's every man for himself, when it gets to that point. And that's the worst I've been on. And I've been in every province as well. So, yeah, I really think you'd have to really stretch it to get any worse than that. But one thing I'll say about all of this, this goes back to what Nolu was saying earlier about how you'll find the worst of the worst in ANC strongholds. Remember those days when we were hearing a lot about the Premier League in the ANC? That is those who provincial premiers in the ANC who were basically swearing their allegiance to Jacob Zuma and his people. Yeah, and that's how Nzuzo looks like. Wow. I'm just saying, Tswana people look better.
Oh, dig.
Gang.
Dig.
No,
well, I can confirm they have bigger bums.
He's lying. Zuzo is handsome. Come on, Zuzo.
But yeah, it's the provinces that are ANC strongholds where you find the worst of the worst. In terms
and the absolute loyalty, the insane loyalty tied to a false narrative that the ANC ended apartheid. They were just one of many players, and apartheid didn't end because of the struggle, folks. I hate to hurt people's feelings. The reason apartheid ended is because the Cold War was over, and the minority government could no longer sell to the white population that the greatest threat to your safety is black power, the Swat, and that was a failure because you looked at governments like right next door in Botswana that were legitimately governing, and obviously black Africans can lead. So that, for people who believe that fantasy, that fell to the wayside. And by the late 1980s, the Huigava was gone too. The red threat with the collapse of the Berlin Wall, the communists weren't coming anymore, but they did come in the form of the ANC. That's all. They came internal. They didn't invade. But those two threats were no longer plausible to those who could vote in South Africa, and 2/3 of white South Africans said enough of this nonsense and ended it. So I mean that's the bottom line there, but it's forgotten about. I got off on a tangent there. Sorry about that. We were talking about roads and the service level. Oh, the loyalty. But people in the Eastern Cape, and until recently, people in KZN, but to me, that's tied to the rise of Zuma, because he's a Zulu, and a lot of Zulus left the Inkatha Freedom Party support and migrated towards the ANC, and that led to this strange situation you got today. But it's crazy. And Nzuzo, let me get you in here too. You can comment about that, or have you experienced anything with? I mean, we're talking about service delivery here, but it's not just service delivery. I mean, driving on the road north of Brits to visit Herman Ruiz at his tobacco farm up there in the northern part of Gauteng. The entire rail system is gone. People have stolen the rails. They've ripped down all the power lines. They dug up the underground copper where the underground communications line was in so that they could communicate from station to station on the phones. It's complete theft. It's not just Sanrail's failures. It's not just negligence by the ANC. It's also people stealing things. And, of course, people were poor. That's nonsense. I grew up not getting meals, going without meals, not having a shower, not getting free lunch at school. It was my only meal of the day sometimes. I didn't steal. Poor people don't steal. Desperate, starving people might steal out of desperation, but poor people don't steal. The people stealing are people that have money. Why? Because they stole from someone else. And Nzuzo, I just gave you a lot to unpack. You're on camera, so it's your turn.
Yeah, man. I think also they steal because they never get caught.
Well, yeah, there's that. I mean, let's be honest. When there's no deterrent, yeah, they'll definitely steal. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. But you speak about Brits. I also do some work there in Brits as well. And not only is the national provincial road so bad, but also the municipal roads. And funny enough, the municipal road in Brits is in disarray. It's got so many potholes, but it's literally in front of the municipal building. Immediately as you come out the municipal building, you see potholes as big as my dad's swimming pool. But you
swimming pool. Wait. Yeah. You mean a fire pole? Otherwise, it's white privilege.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, like it's disappointing, and it was disappointing. Now it's just straight frustrating, because how can you look outside your window as a municipal councillor or an official and say, I can live with that, I can find, like, literally you drive. Maybe that's why actually they steal money so that they can also buy Ford Rangers so that they can actually drive on those roads, which is what I always see most of those officials and municipal councils driving nowadays. Ford Rangers, 4x4s, you name it. Because of us, they complacency, their incompetency, and just their sheer lack of disrespect to the voters has resulted in them having to buy Ford Rangers. But moving from Brits, I'm really pleased with the progress that has happened in KZN and in the municipality of Ngeni. I previously, and that's where
Chris Pappas.
Yes, he's running there. I frequently visit the Midlands because I have family there, and it's a really beautiful place as well. So I visited for a couple of days, and going to Underberg, the roads used to be crap, but now you can see that some work has been done on the roads. I mean, just going up the hill on the, I think it's the Vutuma Road, going to Underberg. It's clear. There's no potholes. It seems as though he's done proper work to fix that stuff, as well as also just maintaining the road reserves, cutting the grass, fixing storm drainage systems. It looks like he's trying a bit, but we'll see. Obviously, as time goes on, but just driving there, I was really impressed. Definitely. And just touching on Zuma. Well, it looks like Zuma's fame in KZN has dwindled.
His star is tarnished now.
Yeah, especially after the conference. There was when getting to the conference, the newly elected KZN leadership was torn between having to support Zuma or support the ANC. And I just want to make it clear, not support Ramaphosa, but support the ANC, and chart a new way going forward with the ANC, without Zuma being at the helm. Many have tried to distance themselves from Zuma and his theatrics in court, what he's been doing thus far in trying to create disunity in the ANC. And many in the KZN ANC have not necessarily come out in attack against Zuma, but kept quiet, because ultimately it only means that if you support Zuma, you will be ostracized in the ANC. And as you can see, that has already happened in the newly elected leadership for the ANC. there's not a single Zulu in the top 7. That hurts a lot of people's egos in KZN, from what I've heard. That is a how do I say it? It's a sort of betrayal, because as you well know, as you know, some of the founding fathers were Zulu, and Zulu culture as well as Zulu nationalism has been a part and parcel of the ANC. So not having any Zulu in the top 7 has really hurt the egos of the ANC in KZN. But I do think that they have a bigger problem in that they are going to lose the province to the IFP with the assistance of the DA in 2024 due to the factional battles, as well as many that organization not being that organization, that province not having a stable sort of leadership, and a leadership that's competent enough to garner votes throughout KZN. I think they've lost a lot of ground with Zuma leaving, with Mkhize not becoming president. And a lot of people have lost hope in the pensioner system that they could have benefited from if Mkhize was elected president. So, many are scared. Many don't know exactly what the fate is for the KZN province in 2024. But that's just what I've been hearing on the ground when I went to KZN and people that I've been speaking to.
Well, my intent is to be back in Howick. I was there the last time I interviewed Chris Pappas live, and I plan to interview him again, this time with better microphone. But I'll interview him again, hopefully. And I'll be back at the Drockendale School in February to give another lecture there, public appearance. But the Midlands is interesting. I've spent some time there myself, that part of KZN. I want to get back to this thing in a second, Nzuzo, but I just want to make 2 comments. I'm going to ask Nolu a question here. First, anyone who ever accuses me of stealing all the oxygen in the room and not letting anyone talk needs to watch the last 8 minutes of the broadcast. Just saying. But Nzuzo's never been here, so we're going to give him that latitude. Nolu, I just got to get your take on this. There are 5 people in the stream. We each represent 20%. Based on that, we are overrepresented by the pigmentationally challenged on this panel. Do you think it's wrong? Should I cut myself in half to reduce myself to below 10%? Nolu, thoughts?
No, but I just wanted to say something quite interesting with what Nzuzo said. I would love to see more provinces actually. In fact, even for KZN to be under IFP. Mm-hmm. For me, I just think that I was saying that at home, that if only IFP were the one who took the place for the ANC. I haven't really seen how do they govern, but I just think that they do need to be given a chance. So for me, I do look forward to that if in that region, because honestly, for me, I just think Zuma didn't really do much in that region. Instead, he's messed it up for somebody who's from there and is proud of being Zulu. So for me, I hope that people will do the right thing and just vote for the IFP rather, because I also think that Chris Pappas will do amazing stuff in terms of his growth, and maybe the DA might take some more seats or whatever you call it. But I look forward to the IFP there. So that's my take on that part.
No, that's an interesting point, and that's getting back to what Nzuzo said, and I'll get to the other panelists in a second. The 2021 municipal elections showed one thing very clearly, that in KZN, the ANC imploded. Their voters stayed home by and large. They just the ANC lost 32% of the voters nationwide, but the percentage they lost in KZN was off the charts. The IFP is the beneficiary of that. Now, the DA, not the party, but Chris Pappas, because of his individual efforts to get elected in that municipality, Umgeni, he really, really got on the street and got out there. And he's not one of these guys that isn't authentic. I mean, he speaks Zulu. It's not kitchen table Zulu. It actually speaks Zulu, and he's very good at it. But he's a very genuine person. Things that in 20 years ago would have counted against a politician, like he's young, he's openly gay. I mean, you never would have got elected 20 years ago with those things. And in a conservative location like that, he got elected. But the IFP is the real beneficiary. It's whatever Pappas does might benefit the DA. We'll see, but certainly it will benefit the residents of that town. But across KZN, the IFP didn't really gain votes. It's like 2% difference. Almost no difference in what happened. But the implosion of the ANC took them from 8 municipalities that they controlled outright through a majority or minority coalition to, I think, 16 or more, or something. It's a much larger number. I forget the number off the top of my head. But the consequence is this, and I said at the time, the IFP, now is the time to get it done. Now is when the rubber hits the road. Either you're legitimate at governments. This is what I told the DA. You've got to do this in other locations, and they just failed miserably. But the IFP, by default, because the ANC implosion, because people just didn't go and vote for the ANC, just didn't vote, they have a unique chance. They can prove that they can govern in these municipalities. And that's where it matters. Because people, you talk about peacekeeping, Cabo Delgado, you talk about the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, you talk about, African Union. People in South Africa don't care about that. They don't. Bureaucrats and elites care about that. And talking heads like I care about that. But not the average person. They care about service delivery, water, security, homes safe, police that are responsive, hospitals that function, schools that teach children, not simply prey on prepubescent girls and rape them and impregnate them and give them HIV. That's what people care about. And that's what the municipal level governance in South Africa delivers. The opportunity to show you can make a difference. And Nolu already alluded to this. I went back to 2016 elections when the DA took over, and she's talking about now. And you can see the difference in Nelson Mandela Bay almost overnight. Almost overnight. Legitimate governments versus a kleptocracy, a racketeering organization masquerading as a liberation movement and a political party. And with that, Dumo, let me ask you, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that the IFP has a unique opportunity here to prove they can govern and profit in the next elections, or am I just, smoking dacha?
It is definitely an opportunity, because I just think that they won't get another opportunity like this. If the turnout in the next election is actually way better than what we saw in last year's election, was it 2021 or 2020? Yeah,
2021. Yeah, it just runs all the days running. But I think what Nzuzo was saying, we're going to see that because the appeal of Zuma is dying off, and a lot of Zulu who traditionally might have been affiliated with the ANC for whatever reason may come back and vote, and so there's a risk. But if the IP can show service delivery, that's my argument.
Yes, if they can, then they got a good chance. They got a good chance of actually
gaining,
doing better in the 2024 elections. But I just think that in South Africa, people are very loyal. I mean, if you have to look at the Eastern Cape, for example, people are just loyal to the ANC. So I'm just thinking that the guys that did not vote, when they come back, they might just vote ANC again, because maybe there won't be any load shedding for 90 days and that type of thing. So that's the game that politicians will play. The ANC will play in that regard. But can they chip off the ANC? Yes, they can. But gaining momentum will be very difficult for them. That's what I think.
No, I think that's true. But this is where the game is won, I believe. This is not there's a deeper analysis of this, and I've done the deeper analysis. But just to put the coffee table analysis here, this is where the game is won. Nolu is correct that those older folks who have that loyalty, I think we all agree that whether that loyalty is mostly to the ANC, or if it's the IFP or another long-existing party, aren't going to change their vote no matter what you do. You could give them porcelain, gold toilet seats, and they'll probably still vote for the other party, that sort of thing. But where this game is won is where over half the population of South Africa comes from. Born frees. Born frees can be convinced, I believe. Now, not all. Some are really woke. You can't fix them. But Koketso, what do you think of that? Do you think that political parties should focus on a specific demographic, or just try to get everybody? I think you should try to get everybody in your basket from all groups, from all languages, all ethnicities, all religions, and all age groups. That's how you win. But clearly, there's votes, I think, that can be won in younger generations of South Africans who didn't live under the apartheid system, have lived under the ANC, and you can point to the failures everywhere in the country and try to convince them over with something other than a T-shirt and a three-piece streetwise. What do you think, Koketso?
So I had a very similar conversation at the tail end of December last year with a good friend of mine, and there's a lot that's never been said by our so-called political analysts, the professional types with their Bachelor of Arts in Political Sciences from Wits University. That's shots fired.
We won't say who.
But yeah, for all their professionalism, I've never come across anyone mentioning that part of the ANC's problem with having so many grandfathers and grandmothers in their esteemed positions of leadership, Mbalula being an obvious exception in this case, but part of the problem there is none of the ANC's people at the very top of the organization can actually resonate with a younger crowd. They know absolutely nothing about what young people, I'm talking about people who've just broken into young adulthood or, at the back end of their teenage years. None of them have any sort of realistic connection to tomorrow's voters. None of them.
Yeah.
When we speak of youth unemployment, for instance, we're talking about 19, 20, 21-year-olds who are suffering through unemployment. And so we've got a ruling party that's full of grandmothers and grandfathers who are so used to repeating the same promises that this time around, I believe if you say to tomorrow's voters who are that young at the very least, you're talking to people who don't revere you in any form or fashion. They were not alive when apartheid was a thing. They were not alive, some of the newer ones. Some of them don't even have a memory of Nelson Mandela.
Well, I mean, the bottom line I think you're getting at, Koketso, is that the liberation narrative shtick is wearing thin with younger voters, younger South Africans.
Yeah, it's already worn thin. And to wrap this point up, what's happening on the opposite side of the spectrum is you've got a Chris Pappas, for instance, who's an actual mayor and is doing good work. If the DA can manage to repeat that success elsewhere, what do you think that says to the younger voter who says, right, I'm more relatable to a 31-year-old Chris Pappas, so maybe he's got my vote.
Yeah.
So there's that. The EFF doesn't count, of course, because they're one-trick pony. Just wear something red, put a beret on, wait for a race-based incident, and then start making noise. They're one-trick pony. But if the likes of your DA, your IFP, your Action SA, and some of the other smaller parties can actually front some credible late 20s, early 30-year-olds leadership in there who are effecting change even in their communities, I think that's what will turn the tide. And the ANC has they absolutely don't have anything or anyone to that effect that has actually been empowered into positions of power, because those with liberation struggle credentials and Robben Island credentials are basically hogging it right at the top. And to a 19-year-old, they see their grandfather or even great-grandfather. They're not going to vote for them.
Well, and that's a fair point. Now I'll make this point. When I was politically active at 18, Nolu, or 20 or 21, and throughout my life, I didn't throw shade on those who were older, and I had no problem with people in the 60s and 70s leading if they were leaders, if they could relate to people. And now that I'm in my 50s, I definitely feel that older people can contribute, middle-aged people can contribute, and elderly, if they can relate to the electorate. But that's the problem. They can't relate to the electorate. I mean, look at our electorate. Nancy Pelosi has the audacity during lockdown to show us off her $40,000 refrigerator and her, $85 dessert that she's eating in a palatial mansion. How does she get that on the salary she has? And she puts it on Twitter. Talk about insensitive to the people out there who are suffering, and especially younger people who don't have an opportunity. And we're talking about youth here. We're talking about Koketso. We're talking 70, 90% unemployment for people in that age group in much of the country. It's absolutely insane. I think the bottom line is you've got to resonate. And to me, you can resonate at any age. I mean, look, that's the only reason I'm on TikTok, right? you can resonate with anybody. But seriously, Nolu, what are your thoughts about that? Can we continue that line with what Koketso is saying there? What do you think?
Well, I remember my niece with the whole outbreak of, I think it was a swimming pool thing. I didn't really care because at that time
you're talking about the Bloemfontein incident or the Free State?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's not. It's not. Yes. It's Mazelsport, but anyway, yeah, that's the one you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
And Nzuzo's give me vertigo here, man. His camera's bouncing around. Go ahead.
Sure. So my niece, I just kept quiet, and she said something quite profound, I think, and she said that, you know what, and she's about to be 15, 16. Yeah.
Okay.
He said, you know what, Julius Malema is racist.
Ooh.
But then if she were to write that on her Facebook, people would chew her alive.
Yeah.
She said that whenever we talk about racism, we love to be one-sided about it. And she kept on saying, Malema is racist. Now, I was quite shocked by her analysis. And I was like, okay, let me just keep it there. My point is, they can see it. They know the reality. And just that when they get to university and they start because of course my niece is in a white school and all of that, and the main language that she speaks of, to say that it's Afrikaans. Don't ask me how. She understands that her and her peers, they are all, I'd say, equal, but of course not as an equal, but then they're just friends. Then she gets university, your WITS, your UCT. That's where the nonsense starts.
Yeah.
Someone will tell her that, you know what, baby girl, you're a victim.
You're oppressed.
Stacey, who's sitting next to you, she is privileged. So therefore, because of that, you should hate her. You should start revolting against the system. And that's where the whole message of the EFF starts to be attractive in that sense. And I think, especially when you are struggling with your studies, you tend to worry a lot about other things, you know. So the future looks bright for me in that angle. But I'm worried when she gets to university, she might be talking a different language, knowing that that's where the problem or the indoctrination starts when it comes to our young people.
No, you make a great point, Nolu, and that's fantastic that your niece has got critical thinking skills. I mean, you know, the people that think that racism is the purview of one particular group are just ignorant and fools. That's the bottom line. I've been a victim of racism. What? Yes, I have. In America, living in a housing project, and in Africa, I've been a victim of racism. But I'm not a victim. That's just something you deal with. People are ignorant. There's ignorant people of all stripes, and fortunately, it's a small percentage of the population. But what you say is interesting. But 2 points to that. Now, one which is going to reinforce what you say, and one which is going to tear it apart, which basically means I kind of agree with you. So the one that's going to reinforce it is that, in my view, where we lost control of society, and I mean reason and critical thinking and common sense, was at universities. In the States, in South Africa, in Europe, the universities were infiltrated by wokeism and stupidity. And a lot of young people latch onto that back in the 60s because it's cool, it's different. I'm going to revolt against my parents, against the system. It's just a cool thing to do. People, they experiment with drugs, sex, whatever, and politics. All that comes into play at university. And that happens. But we lost where we were headed in a common society, good for everybody, at the universities. And it went from there to state institutions. And from state institutions, it went to secondary schools. And now it's in primary schools, teaching 5-year-olds that they're girls, not boys, and boys, they're not girls. It started at universities. That's where we lost control of this thing. So your point about her going there, and your concern about her, I think is very valid. But here's the counterpoint to that. The number of humans who go to university is less than 1%. Now, I don't know what the percentage is in South Africa, but it's not that high. In America, about 35% of all Americans attend some degree of secondary, post-secondary education. They go to university, at least for a year or two, but not all graduate. So about 1/3 of Americans. But that's a very high percentage. That's not the norm in the world. But the counterpoint back again to support Nolu is that those who do get that education wind up in influential business positions and influential government positions, and they drive policy. And that means that what Nolu said, I think, is a very valid concern. I see Koketso shaking his head. Nzuzo, what do you think about that? Do you think I'm smoking crack? I agree with Nolu. I disagreed. I agree with her. In the end, I agree with her.
I think that, I haven't had the opportunity to look at the stats and actually look at analyze that data. But just from my own experience, from my anecdotal experience in South Africa, I think that could be true. It's particularly now in the sense that not even 41% of kids don't even finish grade school.
Yeah.
The possibility of that being a real factual stat, I wouldn't put it past, because we're not even getting kids past grade 12, let alone into varsity. So, and also at the same time, varsity is quite expensive in South Africa, to be honest. And that is just because of, government making it difficult for private players to also compete, as well as NSFAS increasing the amount of NSFAS, allowing these kids to be on so much debt that they don't actually pay it off, while at the same time that money being needed for universities to be able to operate. So it's that I'm not necessarily gonna be shocked at it, but at the same time I'd like to look at it further. Mm-hmm. But like you say, to be honest, most people that go to universities do not even need to be there. They do degrees that are not necessary. Look, even people who have professions like me, I don't even think that I should have went to university to become a lawyer. I should have just went to law school the law school that my professional body could have created itself, and we could have done 2-3 years of law school, and then after went into the profession and started working and practicing. Because once we get into practice, a lot of people complain that these varsity kids don't know shit. So that's the conundrum that you really face. So, and at the same time, you come up, as you said, you get so many people that are fine by the time that they graduate from high school, but then after they take a whole 180 when they get into varsity and become parent-hating people or just society-hating people. They look at everything saying, this sucks. Why don't we have this and this and this? Why don't we have free education? Why don't we have free healthcare? And they come up with crazy theories in varsities in which many of these donors actually fund a lot for them to come up with these crazy theories in varsity. And those theories now make their way into society and everyday society, into these organizations, the UN, the South African Human Rights Commission, all those institutions that are just not assisting society going forward. But at the same time, guys, I also want to just play devil's advocate in the sense is that there are issues which university students were good or universities put at the forefront. One, as you said, this all started in the 60s. The racial issues that were plaguing America at the time. People fighting against the racial prejudice that Black people were facing at the time, which also ushered in the civil rights law. However, you think the civil rights law is written at this, it doesn't really matter in that they put that issue at the forefront. With also in South Africa during apartheid times, these universities still took in many Black children who were not accepted into society and fought the fight that needed to be fought at that time. And as well as, fees must fall. Of course, we're going to obviously condone. We're not going to condone the violence that came with the fees must fall movement, but yeah, there was not a proper system in place at the time when fees must fall was created, and thereafter fees were expensive, and many people were excluded based on the fact that fees just kept on increasing without any justification. Well, actually, there was a justification that there was people that are not paying debt, as well as government not allowing free competition to reign in the education sector, and many people also not necessarily needing to be at varsity, but many issues were not solved, and we saw stupid solutions, or rather stupid ideas coming from the ANC, which is free education, and that has just made things worse now. But at the same time, put that to the side. University has also played a major role in the change that we see in society in terms of freedom of all race groups that they actually allowed to play a part in society as a whole and not be excluded just based on their race. So I think that we still need to pay homage to universities, but at the same time we need to obviously, just like any other organization, rein them in when they're talking bullshit, when they're going off the rails, when they try to instill stupid ideas, rein them in. But at the same time, when issues need to be put at the forefront, I think they should be allowed to speak on it as well.
Well, universities are from the word universal. That's where it comes from, and it's supposed to be a place where all ideas are under consideration. Sadly, that's not been the case here, particularly in the U.S. with the exclusion of conservatives and people protesting. Milo Yiannopoulos coming, a gay white man coming on campus. We can't have him. He's a radical. But people not protesting when radicals are the other side out there. But here's the thing. People shouldn't infer, you didn't, but people shouldn't infer that I have anything against higher education. I mean, I've attended Central Texas College. I've attended Ohio University. I've attended University of Maryland, Central Michigan, Iowa State, and also enrolled in courses overseas in foreign universities. And I have multiple degrees and multiple advanced degrees. I'm all for education. In fact, I just finished a Michigan State University program in beekeeping because I think it's important. So it's just, it's the latest thing I've done. Education is a lifelong pursuit. But as you kind of said, I don't know about reining in universities, but certainly exposing hypocrisy so that people back away on shame them for their conduct. They don't understand the purpose of university. They're doing things. As far as fees must fall, that's I'm one of these people that think that if you want to go to university to become one of the elites in the world, because that's what you are as a university graduate, whether you believe it or not, as a university graduate, you're an elite and you have an opportunity to earn an income exponentially larger than people that never go to university. If you want that, you should pay for it. If you can't pay for it because you come from an impoverished background, then we can have programs, scholarships, and grants that are available for people from lower income, which was my case. I didn't go to university because I was white. I went because I was dirt poor. Because the money was available to dirt poor people. And a black person, a white person, we both qualify for the same thing. We both got the money to go to school. We both had to apply ourselves. But let me get away from that, Nzuzo, and I'm going to go to Dumo real quick. So we were talking about this a little while ago with Nolu, and there's something that came out of this in my mind. We should talk about this. Is that I think she mentioned that kids, or no, I'm sorry, it was Nzuzo who mentioned kids not even finishing primary school. Sorry, it was Nzuzo who said not finishing primary school, like 41% or something like that. This is, in my view, a particularly horrific situation for South Africa. And let me explain my logic to this. We have seen since the 1960s that educating girls through primary school has an incredible impact on reducing fertility rates, increasing wealth, and increasing the better treatment of women in our society. Every society. It started in Asia in the 60s. We saw it. And if you educate girls to primary school, you drop fertility rates unbelievably. If you get them educated through secondary school, you have a much healthier society. Women and girls are more confident, assured themselves. They know who they are. They know their rights and their place in society better. Because, face it, family and community don't always teach kids everything they need to know. So when we educate girls, and I can tell you, I've lived in 2 countries in the world with the highest fertility rates, Uganda and Niger. My driver, when I was in Niger, because I was staying in a temporary lodgings and I couldn't drive there yet because I couldn't get a license. But anyway, the embassy, my driver was the offspring of a father who had 42 children. Wow. 42 children. Yeah. Whoa. 42 children. How in the world do you feed and clothe 42 children? By the way, this is a Niger that when I was a kid had a population of 4 million. And people were starving and hungry because there's no water. It's a desert. It's Sahel. Today, Niger has 28 million people. There's no more water. There's no more fertile land. There's just 28 million people. 42 people. And Uganda also has the second highest fertility rate in the world. And that's because girls aren't educated in schools. And we have it going the opposite direction in South Africa. Instead of improving education, the ANC's Bantu education has reduced educational standards. And now, as if the stat that Nzuzo came up with it, which I don't know, but I have no doubt believing it, 41% of kids don't even finish primary school. A lot of them are going to be girls. And we're going to lead to a situation with, bad birth rates, mistreatment. We see the gender-based violence over South Africa. All that plays a role. Do you think I'm onto something here, Dumo, or is this off base?
I mean, that could be seen as a potential effect. But based on what you're saying, the way I see it is that if women are not educated, and that a lot of people don't finish school, from an economic perspective, I can see these people being welfare recipients. And that is not ideal, especially for women. It's if they can't get a job, what they're going to do is get a child in order to get that grant. And that's going to create the wrong incentives. And then you've got a lot of the fatherless homes. And then that just goes from one thing to the next. So, it's terrible that people actually do not finish school. But on top of that, I mean, the government, what they have done is, if one does not finish school, they actually literally cut off, if you want to put it that way. And I'll tell you why. Because of the minimum wage. The minimum wage keeps unskilled laborers out of the market. So you've got people that don't finish school, and then when they want to get work, they can't get work because they're priced out of the market, because the government says that if you earn so much per hour, it is illegal. And that just makes things worse. And then that could even contribute to crime. Now, again, I know we did say earlier that being poor doesn't mean that you're going to do crime. Definitely so. But I mean, if you got fatherless homes mixed with, the minimum wage mixed with lack of education and stuff like that, I do think that there is a recipe for crime to thrive, because even in the communities that they grow up in, especially, you'll find that the gangster will be the one that's the most revered person. And then people look at the gangster and they say, oh, this guy's great. This is how I should actually conduct myself. And then, when that happens, it's just not a good thing. So it's a really, based on what you said, it's not only what you said as an implication, but there's so much more to it as well.
Well, absolutely, but there's 5 of us, so we just talk that one issue. Next time we can unpack it better. But I'm going to avoid the stereotypical thing. I'm not going to ask the only woman on the panel this question at the moment. I'm going to ask Koketso if he wants to elaborate on that. Any thoughts on that situation with educating and what's going on with education in South Africa?
Yeah, this is more related than a continuation, but I've come across many research or findings from research studies, etc., that basically do say that we have a lot more female graduates than male graduates. This is true for South Africa as well. What I'm worried about now is how much of this work is going to be undone in the coming generation. Because kids at whole are no longer encouraged to stay in school. Kids are being told that you don't need school. But the big effect here is that if we have a lot more female graduates, for instance, and you take it all the way back to even high school, and you've got a lot more women finishing high school than men as well, right? What's that saying about all the men that are being left behind? These are the men who, like Dumo was saying, that when women aren't educated, they're going to end up having children. What about when men aren't educated, or when boys aren't educated? They're going to turn into a life of crime. They're the ones who then go ahead and develop an inferiority complex and end up even doing things like domestic violence, when the woman in the house seems to be more intelligent than they are, for lack of a better word,
And the only wage earner, probably.
Yeah, and the only wage earner, etc. If she goes out and she's going to work, simp, not really a simp, but useless man at home who's being a bum starts getting jealous and starts suspecting that there is a work husband who is eating out of his pot during working hours. He then gets angry, he lays a hand on her. She then quits her job to save a relationship. Everyone suffers, so it's these little things that really do add up. So every time I do hear about how one thing can be detrimental to one gender, there's always that which I'm thinking of how it equally also damages the other gender. So let's just go back to the principles here. Put every child in school.
Yep.
Girl, boy, doesn't matter. Put every child in school, focus on education, and let's not surrender to all of the wokeists who really want a scenario where boys become girls, girls become boys, and the only people who do graduate from school is just the women, because that will then they just want I'm looking for the right word here, but demote men into nothing more than muscle. Which is good for certain things, but even that is being put under pressure, of course, because you can no longer assign gender roles. It's illegal now, right?
No, what I like, Koketso, is I like that you look at things holistically, and I will get to Nolu, to be fair. We're not going to skip her on this question, but you look at things holistically, and that's the way I look at things. So, for instance, for 2 decades in this country, academia has lied to America. Women and girls aren't in STEM. Women and girls aren't in STEM. Women and girls aren't in STEM. Science, technology, engineering, math. They're not there. They're not there. That's a lie. For 2 decades now, 60% of postgraduates, which is where STEM matters. You get a master's or PhD. That's where you do the research. That's where you make the substantive difference potentially. 60% of all STEM graduates have been women in this country. For 2 decades. The number of men in science, technology, engineering, math is declining at a precipitous scale. And you're getting this unequal society. Men make up 50% of society. So again, that's I look at everything holistically. So not just the issue about girls not finishing high school, but thank you for that, Koketso. I appreciate it. So Nolu, let me turn it back to you. Any thoughts on this issue? Either way, Koketso raised a really good point there, as did Dumo. Dumo. I'm getting tired here. We're going to go a little bit longer, folks, and we'll wrap up. This is my third consecutive broadcast.
Yeah, it's a sad one, actually, really, because at home, when I compare but there's my niece, of course, which I just think that she's putting the boys into really under pressure. There's something about we tend to be more organized, more focused at a certain age as girls compared to the boys. However, especially so when there's no dad in the house. And for me, I just think that it is such a huge problem in our communities, especially in our townships, that there's no dad in the house, because a boy child is difficult to discipline. I'm saying that because that's one of the reasons why they don't want to finish school. One of the reasons why they don't want to focus and graduate and all the things that Koketso has just mentioned right now. And because of that, my concern is that my same niece, who, exactly as Koketso said, might date a guy who's a loser, and so in that regard, I just think that as a younger generation, the young ones, like, I would love for us to turn the wheel around in our townships and being better in terms of, if we are staying in a township, it'd be nice if you were raising your own child, and we have more fathers in our townships, because that's the more we don't have men in the house, this problem that we're talking about, I don't think it's really going to go away, because I'm not lying to you. My nephew, who is, I don't know how old they are, there's no way they are tall. There's nothing you can say if he doesn't want to do something. If he doesn't want to finish school, there's nothing you can do as the woman. And the sad thing is that I don't know why we keep believing as women that we can raise children alone, especially the boy child. It is, I don't get it. Where do we get that? And I also want to add this: no matter how much money you can have as a woman, my belief is this: it will never be enough for you to raise those kids. You can take them to the best schools, but the discipline in itself that a man can bring, you can never substitute that. And that's my take on this, that as the younger generation, we should turn it around and be seen with raising our own children in our communities. Maybe then we will have less of these problems. And I also say both girls and boys should be at school. Yeah, but my concern, I'm more in pain for the boy child at this moment, simply because it's chaotic in our township. It's not even funny how things are going right now. And you can see that these young boys, they would love to have somebody who can mentor them, you know. And there's also this thing where within the men's circle, that the other doesn't want to tell or reprimand another man. So there's a lot of politics within there in itself. And yeah, that's why I don't really want to be like, oh yeah, but girls, it's not about that. But I just think that we should just take it back to taking the boy child back to school and the dad being at home. We need them more than ever.
Well, we unpacked a number of things here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a statement here, and then I'm going to go around the horn one more time for one question about the U.S., because I want the South African perspective on this question. I want to see what you guys have to say. If you don't have an opinion, that's fine. If you have a harsh opinion, that's great. And then I'll give everybody a chance to a final word. Okay, so what I want to say about that is that America, 78% of black children illegitimate, single-parent families, 78%. Hispanic kids, 45%. White kids, 25%. And even Asians, 9%. That's why it's all disaster. I agree with you 100%, Nolu. I see Koketso shaking his head. Duma, same thing. I can't see because Nzuzo's head's too small, but it looks like he's shaking it too. Anyway, I think we're in total agreement on that. Fathers, having a two-parent family doesn't ensure a safe, productive, and healthy childhood. It doesn't. But not having a two-parent family almost guarantees an incredible struggle for that single parent and very bad outcomes for those kids. That's just the truth. People can dress it up any way they want. You know, I'm great. I'm ex-LGB, whatever, this and I'm single. I had a donor and I'm going to raise my kid. Well, good on you. It's nice that you're rich. You can find that. But as Nolu said, you need the influence of both parents to mentor. And, you know, you talk about boys, but when I've seen healthy relationship with parents raising their kids, one of those special relationships is a father and his daughter. A healthy relationship where he teaches her to be a responsible young lady and be strong and teaches her things. I love when I see parents who are fishing and their daughters are there with them and their sons are there with them. It's great to see that sort of thing, or out hunting and that sort of. So I agree 100% with what came up there. But the bottom line here is the destruction of the nuclear family started in the United States, and it's all over the world now. And it's been a true tragedy for humanity, because we know the nuclear family really makes a difference. Not always, but it certainly gives kids a head start that they deserve. So with that, let me go around the horn now and ask questions. I'm going to start with Koketso this time. All right, Koketso, I'll give you a chance here. Okay, so President Donald Trump had hundreds of documents that were classified in boxes in storage at his Mar-a-Lago residence. For 4 months, he had 4 visits from the National Archives, who were responsible for retaining those documents, and the FBI. They came, they cooperated, the attorneys gave him the information, they gave him documents, boxes of them. They asked about a room where he stored it. He said, well, for that level of information, you have to have a double lock, so put another lock on it. They saw them put the lock on. And then suddenly, out of the blue, 91 days before an election, because 90 days becomes a policy that violates the Department of Justice, 90 days before the election, 91 days, they do a pre-dawn raid when he's not at home, with FBI, body armor, automatic weapons, 36 agents barreling in, and they tip off the media. So the media there, CNN is covering it live, that they're raiding Donald Trump's house. Now, of course, Donald Trump, he backed hundreds of candidates around the country, so influencing events. Anyway, so that happened. Meanwhile, Joe Biden, on the 2nd of November, a week before the midterm elections, Joe Biden has top secret sensitive compartment information in an office building, unsecure, sitting a block or a mile from the White House, and it's been there for 7 years. He stole the information. He doesn't have declassification authority, so he can't justify this whatsoever. He's responsible. The media have come out, and CNN carrying the water, putting up, well, President Biden only had 12 documents. Donald Trump had 325 documents. It doesn't matter how many documents there are, folks. One top secret sensitive compartment information that costs someone their life because a source or method was revealed it's a crime. It's a horrific crime. So the severity doesn't matter if it's 1 or a million. It's 1 is what matters. All right, I framed it. Koketsu. Any thoughts on the Donald Trump and the Joe Biden stolen classified information? By the way, they're not alone. Hillary Clinton did this, but she did it intentionally. Anyway, they both of them, Biden doesn't have cognitive ability. It might have been a mistake. Trump's case, his staff probably just boxed up everything in the office and took it home, and so probably both mistakes, but it's still a criminal violation. Any thoughts?
Yeah, look, I'm still on the fence on this one with the Trump, with the Trump allegations at the very least. Maybe help me out here. Classified documents, we can safely assume those are state secrets, right?
Correct.
So,
but bear in mind, this has got to be clear.
Yeah.
My government routinely overclassifies data that's not classified. So many things that I worked with have classified markings. They're not even classified information. I wrote an analysis working the Defense Intelligence Agency about Africa. All of my sourcing wasn't from spies. It wasn't from the CIA, although I had access to that sort of thing. It was from open source reporting and from my research that was done in the public, which you could have done. But because I was an intelligence analyst working for the Defense Intelligence Agency, they classified that information. So there's that possibilities out there too. But yes, ostensibly they're state secrets, correct?
Okay, fair enough. But I'll also make a safe assumption here that the criminality behind stealing, quote unquote, classified documents isn't also covered with different layers or different tiers of punishment, or, I forget the word now, but if you take classified documents, right, the law doesn't say that if you take level 1 classified, here's the punishment, level 2, etc.
Correct. Whether you if you take a confidential, which is the lowest classification, one piece of paper, and you mistakenly slide this in your briefcase because you're on your desk, you're cleaning it, and you go home, it's mixed in, and you get caught going out of the building, the penalty for that is the same as if Donald Trump has 10,000 top secret sensitive compartment information. Now, the damage isn't the same, but the penalty is exactly the same.
Right. So with the biggest, one of the biggest economies in the world, very advanced.
No. The biggest. The Chinese can't catch us. Don't even try. Don't be carrying the water. We are the biggest. We are the best. It's going to be big. It's going to be great. It's going to be better. Anyway, sorry.
Right. So when you're the biggest guy in the room, right, and you're quite a mature democracy as well. You've got mature processes in place, and you punish the theft of classified documents, whether it's a single page or whether it's the manual on how to operate the nuclear football, right? With all of that said, why would it take this long to prosecute someone who has effected this crime? I don't know if it's classified as treason or not, but I'm pretty sure it's right.
No, it's not treason. It's espionage.
Espionage.
Our Constitution clearly states in order to prove treason, you have to have 2 eyewitnesses, and that hasn't changed. We have the Espionage Act. It's espionage. It's a felony. It's a federal felony.
You're right. It's a federal felony. It's up there in terms of seriousness. So the reason I'm on the fence is that, right, this whole thing at Mar-a-Lago happened weeks ago. And yet Trump is still walking on the street like nothing. You don't see the witch hunt by the powers that be to really bring him to book if they stole that, if he stole that many classified documents. So that's why I'm still on the fence about it. On the Biden issue, however, right, they are carrying his water. They are basically trying to paint him in good light. They're going to now refer back to his grandfather complex and then say that if he really is in the wrong, maybe he just didn't know, and therefore we'll quickly get to a point where ignorance is a solid defense for some, but it is not a solid defense for some others. So that's my take on it. If it really was true, or if it really was as bad as they made it out to be when Mar-a-Lago was raided in full view of the cameras, then Donald Trump would be behind bars by now. That's my take on it. And the fact that he isn't means either A, the whole thing was a lie, or B, they're still trying to find a creative way to pin this on him, while his team is obviously finding creative ways to weather the storm and take the hit when it does eventually come, if it comes at all.
Well, that's an interesting take. I appreciate that. I wouldn't even thought about that. That last part you said there. That's interesting. So let me go to Nzuzo. You're actually a lawyer, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, you can correct me, and we won't tell anybody that I was wrong because I'm never wrong. But I'll give it to you. Laws are different in South Africa than they are here in the U.S. But any thoughts on this?
Yeah. Apologies. I don't have any thoughts right now on this right now. It's actually the first time I'm actually hearing all this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, definitely. Don't really. I've been on holiday, man. I'm only going to office on next week, so I'll literally be on a holiday. So I've only heard of this now, so I don't really have a opinion as of yet on it.
Okay, that's fine. We'll give you a chance, and next time we get together, maybe you might want to talk about it then. But no, I always like to hear from lawyers. That's why I get Mark Oppenheimer in the program occasionally, because it's interesting to hear what lawyers have to say. All right, Nolu, I'm going to come to you. Any thoughts on this? Have you heard this story at all, or these stories?
I have. I think I'm also. I don't really have much words, but okay. In terms of. Yeah, I really don't want to sound like I do know the full story, but I do know that it's quite a political move. And the fact that I don't know, I would love to know what is this big thing about Donald Trump right now. I know that they're scared of him.
They're terrified of him. Look at this. That's
terrified
obvious.
Of him.
Yeah.
Terrified of him, you know. But then I think the power he had, or the influence that he had, it also has a bit died down. That's Donald Trump, in my opinion. Yep. He's not as potent as he was before. And the ties are changing in that regard. But yeah, I don't want to digress and move from your question. So regarding this matter, I think I'm really going to reserve my opinion about it because I'm not really fully aware of how the US works when it comes to this stuff. I mean, if it was Zuma, would have been easy for me to just say exactly what is going on.
Let's see what Jacob Zuma's up to in the next couple of weeks when we get together again before I get to South Africa. Then maybe we'll talk about Zuma next time because he's got machinations going on right now. But thank you for that, Nolu. Dumo, I know you're going to have something to say about this. You do follow the US scene. Any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I just saw, traces of it on Twitter. So it just seems to me that it's no different to the Hillary Clinton incident. I mean, I think when Hillary Clinton was running and then they found all those emails and then she deleted them and everything like that and nothing was done. And I remember Donald Trump even mentioned this while he was still the president. It just seems to me that this Espionage Act, I think whoever has to prosecute on this will be selective on prosecuting. And I think that if they have to prosecute one big politician on this, then the next question is, well, what about Hillary? What about Joe Biden? What about so-and-so? So I think now this law is only reserved for people like or was it? Can I say Eric Snowden? Maybe I don't
know.
No,
it's reserved for people like you and me, just regular people. No, I mean, listen,
Edward Snowden.
It's
Edward.
Well, Snowden's a criminal. Sorry. He deserves it. So we're probably going to differ on that one. Snowden's a guy. We're probably going to differ, but he deserves it, in my view. Koketso wants to respond on that. Let Dumo finish. And then,
for another day.
Okay.
So Edward Snowden. Okay. Like regular people like you and I think it's reserved for that.
Yeah.
I think when you go after politicians, I just think you're just gonna hit a house of cards. That's what I'm thinking. So it's just like, hey man, we'll talk about it, but we won't do anything about it. That's it. But Edward,
well, we had a Navy sailor who was no longer in the Navy, while on submarine duty, took a picture, a selfie inside the sub with his friends, and he posted on social media. After he got out of the Navy, someone said that you can't take pictures inside a submarine; it's classified. There was no classified information. He wasn't exposing any top secret equipment, but he was prosecuted and imprisoned for 3 years as a criminal felon. His child was born when he was in prison as a felon in a federal prison because he took a selfie. It's wrong. It was removed, but it was vindictive, the punishment. And that's I think the point is that act is used to punish regular folks, not the people in power. And that's kind of how the law is. I mean, can you tell me one ANC member, Zandile Gumede, Ace Magashule, Zweli Mkhize, Cyril Ramaphosa, any of these people, James, any of them ever? The only people ever been convicted are, of course, Tony Yangani, because he's an idiot. He got convicted. And the only other one who's ever been convicted comes to mind is Winnie Mandela. She was convicted by the National Party for the role in the death of Stompy, for the kidnapping. And then she was convicted of corruption in parliament by the ANC's government. So that's it. No, the only people get prosecuted are low-level folks, just average folks. It's very frustrating. Koketso, it sounds like you want to get on the Snowden thing. We'll save that for another time. Let's not forget that because we're probably going to differ on this one. Since it's my stream, it's our program, my stream, I am going to say that he is a criminal who caused the death of many people and deserves the worst fate possible for treasonous bastards like that. He didn't even try to do the right thing. The right thing would have been going to Inspector General with his concerns. Instead, he stole the information and compromised the lives of many people, and it's unforgivable. Anyway, but we'll save that for another day. So, Koketso, if you want to respond real quick to that, I'll let you in. It's not fair for me to do that, but you're welcome if you want to say something real quick.
Yeah, now I want to know your stance on Julian Assange. So,
he's another criminal. He pays for information that is stolen from governments. That's theft. Case closed.
Yeah.
Case closed. He's not a journalist. That's not a journalist. That's not what real journalists do. Glenn Greenwald, who went to Hong Kong and met up with Snowden, is a real journalist. He's an arrogant prick. And he's full of himself, and he's hiding in Brazil, but he's a heck of a journalist, and so I have to give him respect for that and props for that. But he also is a journalist that allows his position to be biased without admitting it. I admit my bias. I am biased in this case against Julian Assange and against Edward Snowden because I've been inside the wire and I know the harm that they've caused. And it was unjust. There were better ways for both of them to handle things to do this. They just wanted attention. In Snowden's case, he's got an ego the size of Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala secret stash. He's got bags and bags of ego there. So that's but I admit my bias up front. Glenn Greenwald doesn't do that. He right now he hates Jair Bolsonaro, and so he's silent on the crimes of Lula, the convicted money launderer, is now president there. So it's when people are honest about their bias, I'm cool with that. And Greenwald, I still respect him, but Snowden and Assange, no, just criminals. I'd throw away the key. There's no forgiveness in that. Lives were lost, people's lives were destroyed because of their actions, and it was unnecessary. Their egos became involved. So we'll talk about that the next time if you want. But let me go around the horn real quick, okay? And thank you for that, for throwing that there. I wasn't expecting the Julian Assange question. Look, you notice I didn't say anything about the Swedish rape, right? That was just an allegation. Other people are like, oh, he's a rapist. No, I don't think he's a rapist. It's some allegation some woman made. It was never proven in court. And so I don't know. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. It's not germane to the topic. So, I don't go there. But although I just did. So that sounds like I did. Anyway, but seriously, let's go around the horn. Anything you want to share? If you want to share your social media links and tell us about what's going on in the new year real quick, and we're going to wrap up. And I want to thank, we went a bit longer than I expected here because, Nolu had such a long response to that question about, Donald Trump and Joe Biden. So it kind of ran us over. We'll blame it on her. And Nzuzo, anything you want to say here to wrap it up? Any social media things you want to share with people? Anything like that? You have the floor.
Yeah. Just social media, guys. Find me on Twitter, Zokati, Instagram, Zokati. And probably gonna also on Patreon. Find me there as well. And man, guys, enjoy the new year. I hope you guys will achieve your goals. And man, it's great to be on the show at last. And hope to be on many more. And hope to see you soon, Chris. Whenever you come.
Well, you came to the Pretoria meet and greet, did you not?
Yeah.
Because we took a photo with everybody. Now Nola wasn't there, so we have to take another photo. We'll Photoshop her into the picture now. Anyway, thank you so much, and it's great to finally have in the program. Nolu, your any thoughts, any comments, any social media stuff you want to share? What's coming up?
Yeah, man. As Nzuzo said, man. Find me on LinkedIn. Not LinkedIn, sorry. Yeah, I'm there also. Find me on Twitter, on Instagram as well. And the new things that are happening, I will keep you guys updated about that one. But that's me right now.
Cool beans. Well,
thank you for having me, Chris, and I hope you will meet again when you do come through.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
So,
guys, for the two of you, send me your social media links so I can put them in the description for the video, and I'll keep them updated. I put Man Patreon there. I think it's in there, but I know I put it in there. Anyway, so please send it. Koketso, let me let you go because I'm going to give Dumo the last word from the panel because he's always here, so he gets to go last. So it's up to Koketso. What do you got to say?
Yeah, I'm going to excuse myself for any future sit-downs that I miss due to traveling and other commitments. So, but it was good being back. Let us have a good year. Where to find me? Probably my Twitter account. I did go private for a while and then people complained, so now I'm back on the public. And my following is shooting through the roof for some odd reason, even though I'm tweeting less nowadays. So, I'm either irritating enough people or I'm encouraging enough people as well. So, find me there. And if not, find me at Man Patreon.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Koketso. Cool beans. And once again, by the way, thanks. Your mom was a fantastic host, and she got me safely out of that village because there was a fake service delivery protest. She took me to the back road. I had to ride around for an hour to come out 1 kilometer from where I would have been, but I got out safely thanks to your mom. I had a rough day after that, blowing 2 rims, but that had nothing to do with your mom. That was well past. That was past Rustenburg. So once again, you passed my greetings along to your mom and a belated Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'm really grateful for her. I appreciate it. So thank you, Koketso.
Will do.
All right, Dumo, what you got to say, brother?
Mm-hmm. Yes, if you want to see more of me, I'm on Twitter at Dumodenga. Thanks to Hendo in the chat for actually posting the links to our social media. If you want to see our written work and podcasts at Manpatria, you can just go to manpatria.com.
All right, cool beans. Well, that was short and sweet. I think everybody wants to get off here. And I think that Koketso put a disclaimer out there because he was angry about my response on Edward Snowden. He's telling us he's not going to come on the program anymore. I'm just kidding. All right, folks, there you go. That's Nako. And for those of you who don't speak Tswana, that means it's time. And for those of you who remember the FIFA World Cup, the corrupt awarding of that, Danny Jordan and the cup coming to South Africa, which I don't care that it was corrupt. It was fun to go to. I went to games. It was great to see that in South Africa. But one of the themes for the 2010 World Cup in South Africa was Nako. Anyway, so there you go. For those of you who don't know that. Thanks a lot to my co-hosts on the program tonight, Nzuzo. We've got Nolo here, and of course, Koketso Rezani and Dumo Denga. Thanks a lot, folks. Have a happy New Year. Be safe, and we'll catch you next time. I'll just ask all that the folks on the panel either put your mics on mute or drop off now because I'm going to play the closing thing. Thanks a lot, everybody, and have a lovely day. And we'll see you on the program next time. Cheers. Oops, there we go. People are disappearing. Okay. Dumo's out, and then it'll just be me. Cheers. All right, there you go, folks. That was Nako, the first one for 2023. I enjoyed it. I hope you did. I'm sorry I didn't get to the chat. I missed a lot of the chat over here. Thank you to my moderators, in particular Hendo. I didn't see who else was moderating, putting links up and letting people know about stuff that's going on. This was fun. Share the link. Let people know about it. It's a fun conversation, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. So there you go. Thanks a lot. And I'll see you tomorrow on the program unless something breaks. Breaking news. You never know. It's a crazy world. And it's always a pleasure having these folks on. So you guys take care of yourself. Thanks a lot. God bless. If you're not a subscriber, why don't you become one? Push that button right down there at the bottom.
That was easy.
And become a subscriber if you found us for whatever reason. Join us today. And go, please check out the accounts. All these folks are active on Twitter. And also, Man Patriot has its own program. So thank you so much. And take care, folks. Bye-bye.